here we are, just mano a mano, just the two of us.
I love it. Yes, sir.
Usually there's a third person crowding us out, Mr. Dan.
That's okay. It's just us today, my friend.
It is. I don't know how we're going to put this out without letting him know, because obviously jealousy runs deep in his veins. So I don't know.
Oh, stop it.
I don't know how that's going to work, but I think what I'm going to do is say that you begged and pleaded.
That's
that
a good idea.
I'm going to have to.
It's always the easiest. Always the easiest. Just turn the blame back on me. People can't be mad at me for too long. That's why I smile.
Well, they can't. You have that, like, we've talked about this before, that like kind of infectious smile / grin. If I'm having a bad day, if I stub my toe on the end of the bed, I know where I need to. I know I either need to look at an image of you, or just pick up the phone. And
that's right. I will bring peace to you.
Excellent. So Dan, if you are watching, it's all DJ's fault. But here we are. I'm glad that we're actually finding some time to get together. We had a bit of a chat earlier on. Was it last week?
Yes,
and some of the things that it was fun, and some of the things that we discussed. I wish that we could have recorded. I love the rawness of the way that the podcast series that we've been putting out has been going. So kind of like leaving in those errors, unless something's derogatory or not correct, then it's going to stay in. So so here we are back again. Our podcast series is really all about focusing on supply chain specialists, industry specialists, and we couldn't find anybody this week, so we thought we'd get you on instead. That's okay.
I mean, listen, yes, exactly. I'm a rook to the game, but I do get to share the stage every Wednesday with these guys that just know so much about this industry.
It's phenomenal. So here we are with DJ Flores. The man, the myth, the legend, got his finger in many, many pies. We'll catch up with regards to like what you're up to, where you're at. Let's talk a bit about some of the sales chatter, which I'm privileged to be part of on a Friday as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us.
But no, it's my pleasure. I love it. And then of course we have to show off.
That's right. Show off. Yeah, look at it.
There we go. Look at that. I'm actually. I weighed myself yesterday for the first time in a while, and I'm going to level with you. I'm a good 15 pounds overweight. So I apologize for the what you're seeing here, but like it's the diet officially started last night.
Stop it.
Oh man, it's honestly it's when you can't tie your shoelaces and you wear slip-on. And you wear slip-on shoes, that's
Listen,
a problem.
I had that problem, man. I had that problem for a long time. Weight's always been an issue for me, my family, really. But yeah.
Oh, really? So. Well, mine is just the fact that I gravitate towards crap food.
Yeah. Well, that's our problem. Yeah, I love that stuff too.
Yeah. Well, junk food, like chocolate in particular, chocolate and cookies. Like I will just sit there and eat them all day long. And for 18 years, my wife might buy a box of cookies or a chocolate bar or something like that, and she's still mystified why I will sit there and eat the whole thing. And I'm like, but I'm going to do it. You don't like me doing it. I have no control.
Yeah,
don't buy it for me.
Buy me those little 100-calorie packs that only have a few in there or something. It'll make me only eat that.
right. But to be fair, she will.
You know what I'm saying?
She'll put out like trail mix or a little bit of fruit and salad, and she's like, well, I'll leave other stuff out for you. You don't have to just gravitate towards the crappy shit. But I'm like, well, I kind of do really.
There's no fun doing it that other way. The crappy stuff is the fun. Is the fun. Usually if it tastes good or it's fun to do, it's probably bad for you. That's been my rule, my at least my lesson in life, I guess.
There you go. That's exactly it. All right, listen, let's dig into your life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a couple of questions at you, and then we'll just see where it goes. But I've been super intrigued and interested in kind of following your journey, really, and almost weekly when we jump on the Friday get together. There always feels like there's something that's going on. in your world. And when I say, like, that's happening to everybody, but in your world specifically, it's like, well, I'm traveling down this path, and then all of a sudden, no, I think I want to carry on, but I'm also going to branch off, or I'm going to, stop there, and I'm going to go in this general direction, and then it's going to take a twist and a turn. So
I blame it on Rich Dad. I blame it on Robert Kiyosaki.
you do?
Yes, I do actually. Well, so obviously I have my homage
Yeah.
here. Cash flow is his game, but yeah, between the mix of just kind of my life journey, I don't know if we touched on this when we talked before, but I mean, I've probably sold, been through as many trainings and had more jobs than most people have had in their life. But it was just this. I guess kind of even the way that I live my life today.
Is there any? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not afraid of risk, I guess.
Right.
I've been at the bottom, I've been at the worst, so I'm not afraid to risk. But I've learned to do it smarter and just not burning the whole boat right away. I guess. But yeah, it's I've just learned to really open my options and really just using my abilities of what I've learned through business, through working with all these other companies to just help. Actually, I mean, it's probably not going to surprise you, but I actually just on Monday on the two ladies with the furniture company, the Turkish furniture, she approached me about an equity deal of having me become partner in there to help them grow it and getting some equity in it. So it's like, well, that sounds fun.
Right. Okay. So
I'm weighing out the options there, but yeah, they're always they're always coming, man. I will tell you, Dan, shout out to Dan, really.
Yeah.
I really didn't grow my network. I really wasn't networking. I knew that I knew it was needed. And I would say probably it was around the time of meeting Dan, actually. It was like, okay, I'm at this standstill. Everything I kind of did to this point manifested the way I had a vision, but now what? Everybody around me seemed to be stuck. Like I think a lot of people are right now. Just because of COVID. Because I mean, I was stuck. Shoot, I went from working nonstop till at the beginning of COVID. I didn't work for like 3 months, and I'm like, okay, this is not me. But I didn't know why I was going crazy, and so I was kind of going crazy inside. And so then it was just this whole journey to self-awareness. Okay, what is going on with me? What do I need? And I realized I needed to get really back out there, meeting people, networking, and just connecting those dots.
So you say you weren't working for 3 months. What does not working look like to you though?
Dude, it was crazy. So
was that like literally doing nothing, spending the day on the beaches of Cleveland?
I was literally not working. I kind of took the Rich Dad, the Robert Kiyosaki journey. I did it obviously a little premature and faster than most people, but that's kind of how I have lived my life. I really relate my life, and I want to end up writing a book of about my life and about how YouTube and Audible kind of saved my life. But and it really just the books and knowledge of other people. But even deeper than that, I was a big video game nerd for a long time. Love video games. I still love them. My oldest, that's all he does, really. Kobe, if you're listening or if you hear this,
yeah, get off the game.
But yeah. So he's I mean, he's so diehard video games. He's actually on his third year at Sam Houston because he wants to work for Pixar. He actually wants to create his own video games, is what he wants to do. But,
wow.
Yeah, so crazy.
That's different. Okay,
yeah,
that's different. Pretty special.
But yeah, so the way I played video games is the way I play life, is what I tell most people. I rush through video games to try to beat them, to learn what I'm going to encounter, and then the second time through, I realized as a kid was when I mastered games, even games on your phone. You know, if there's 5 stars you have to get, I'll blast through and then go back through again to perfect it and get 5 stars on every single thing. And I noticed that was just the way I work.
So that's interesting. So I would blast through my way through games, like, and I would just sit there and play it until, like, you know, but once I'd finished, I never had, I just couldn't have the energy to go back through it again. But when I was going through it, I was, although I was rushing, I was still giving it like everything, giving it the best, you know. And then of course there are those sections where you die and you go back a little bit and then you can improve a little bit. But I just never, like, once I finished a book, I can't go back and read it again. My 9-year-old will sit there, get to the last page, flip back to the beginning, and then start again. And I've got a few buddies that are like that. With a movie, no problem at all. Get to the end, go back to the beginning. Get to the end, go back to the beginning. For some reason, I think that's because that's super lazy. Versus a video game where you've got to do something, versus a book where you've got to concentrate. So, I kind of partially understand. Like, where your head's at.
It's just something that I've done, and so I'd never really, again, a lot of people around me thought I was crazy. It was the biggest joke. What are you doing now? Because I was always doing something different, or 3 things at the same time, or whatever. But it really just gave me the experience I didn't realize that I gained from it. It was more powerful than I knew. I'm
going to just quickly jump into. So you said you've had a ton of jobs over the years. Have they all been?
You can think of. I've sold meat out of the back of a truck. I've worked an ice cream truck, actual I've door to door, in-home sales, collection of so collecting money or collecting equipment for like a cable. I've done it all.
But mostly sales related, do you think? Or is it involved with people at the very least?
Always sales, and always commission based. I got that bug of commission young. Found out what that, it made the difference of, okay, well, I can either be lazy and work like everybody else, just watching the clock and make whatever that number they say, or I can bust my ass and either work less time and make more, or make more. And it's like a drug.
right. And each and every, so actually I'm going to stack my questions, which in sales, you should never stack your questions, but I have to, because otherwise I'm going to forget. So in each role that you've had, do you feel like you're paying attention to the role such that you're learning, not just about the job, but about maybe other facets and other aspects, and it's something that might be tangential to it? And number 2, like, what makes you move on to the next gig? What stops you from sticking at something? And
great question. So the main reason, I won't skip to the end. I'll go to the beginning first. So first question, the thing that I would really, I've only worked for 2 large corporate companies, Best Buy, H Gregg. I've never worked for corporate America, large companies prior to that. The thing that drove me from those companies, it seemed like any time, and now again, connecting the dots, what I feel like I have, at least in my opinion, corporate America, it seems like there's this big giant book somewhere, again, hypothetically, but it just seems like there is. And if you're a regional manager, like, you only know this part of the book, and you only could do this, and you only say this, and you only do this. And it's like they had an answer instead of like really critically thinking, or thinking of somebody other higher, a higher position. Right. And so that drove me crazy. And so really most of my jobs were local, small business owners. So I primarily worked directly under owners for the most part, or maybe the owner themselves and, maybe a very small higher management. But I always just kind of, anywhere I worked, anything I did, I don't know if it came from my dad, my brother. I know my brother said the same thing. We always had this, if you're a manager, if you're an employee, think like a manager, So whatever the manager thinks is responsible, that's what you should be doing as an employee. So pretend you're the manager, and then as a manager, pretend you're the owner. And so, that was really just always trying to figure out, okay, well, I know they're, whether it was a window company, they didn't want to tell me the exact cost or this or that. What are they fighting with? What are the things that they're not sharing to me that isn't causing, this or that? And it got to the point where it was, okay, I started a few businesses here and there crazily on my own, then ended up branching out through those companies. But it was, I realized that the reason I kept going from one to the other was I knew that everything that I felt like they knew, I could do better. And so I just was like, okay, I could do this. I'm going to do this on my own. And so then, it was.
Was that mostly you recognizing that you wanted to move on, or was it somebody outside that circle that said, hey, I like what you're doing? Maybe you could come and try your hand, like doing that with us.
Honestly, so I'll tell you, it's the hardest thing. And this is a shout out to anybody who is listening to this or watching this that has a small business. Great way to be a mentor for somebody, but a bad way to, you don't want to try to hold on to your best. I forget what book or what training or what, I've done so many books, so many trainings, but so many ranked employees. You have your A employees, B employees, C and D employees. And then your F, obviously they don't ever last, but your C and Bs, your Cs are your main ones and are your workers. Your Bs are the ones who end up moving up to management. Your As are your superstars who end up eventually doing their own thing. But I think that's where a lot of small business owners, a lot of companies, it's kind of that the oppression story of crabs in a barrel pulling each other down. I think that's a lot of small business owners. If they didn't think they had to do it all themselves and figured out that with just a little collaboration of other people who maybe have their own company but specialize in something else. That's how these big corporations turn into what they do. But if we kept that on a smaller scale, but really just spread it instead of just making one Jeff Bezos or one Mark Zuckerberg, but made just a bunch of really healthy, successful small business owners kind of collaborating together. That's kind of the future that I see. So.
Do you think though that a lot of small business owners are worried about letting go?
Yes.
And almost like sharing that responsibility, or
absolutely.
If I'm not doing it, it's not getting done well. Yeah. So you're not trusting that others could do it well, and you've got to relinquish. You've got to take a little bit of a leap of faith in some respects.
You have to. I think that's the biggest thing. I've always had this, and it's really, I have so many destruction stories that I didn't realize. Most people are like, this is your life? And I'm like, yeah. I've taken a lot of crazy risk. But I've always, I don't know if it's because deep down, I want people to just believe my crazy ideas and crazy stories, but I always go in meeting anybody I meet, even if it sounds like the most amazing. And that's probably why I've had so many jobs. A lot of sales jobs oversell it. There's this one guy who did this one amazing thing. It's impossible to reproduce, but they sell you this dream. I've fallen for a lot of those and realized really quick, okay, this is all bullshit. Like, you guys, like, you rigged, the game's rigged. This doesn't work. And then it's out. But I've always gone into just believing full into what somebody's saying, and then just trying to figure out how quickly, before getting too hurt, if this is real or if this is not, and get out. But it's been a blessing and a curse. It's allowed me to, I guess, have this arrogance of belief in myself that no matter what, I'm going to survive out of this. But just going in trusting, and that, and again, maybe it was the push of my dad was that person. My dad had a home remodeling company for 15 years. Right. He ended up doing that just out of necessity. He got screwed. I seen his story. I actually lived this story. But he working at a plant plant manager for this machine company. He's bust his ass hard worker too. And so a lot of people will take advantage of that. So he ended up, the company got bought. Lady bought the company like most new owners do. Oh, well, this is a big payroll. I can probably do this, or I could get somebody for cheaper to do it. Brought guy in, didn't know what he was doing. Place closed down. But my dad, that was finally where he was like, okay, I'm not working for anybody anymore. Did his own thing. But he very, that old school mentality, very small-minded thinking, and very limited thinking because of did not believe. Once I became of age to where I had this crazy, like I do, vision. Well, we'll just hire people. Let's just hire people, we'll make teams. Look at all this business we could have. Just get some people in and we'll get this going. Tried to help him. We butted heads. It didn't work. Tried that a few other times with other people, with very successful, backgrounds, very all about their customer service, their product, and what they brought to the customer. Nobody could beat. They didn't value it correctly, and they were afraid to give that, well, I don't have enough business. I don't have enough teams. Well, I just brought you more business. Now we need to hire people. If I can't watch this, that you don't need to find somebody you trust to do it. But again, it's very scary for a lot of people to do that, and I don't know. I don't have that fear.
Which is, do you think, is that a good thing? Or I was going to say, which is a good thing. And now I'm thinking
that's what I'm saying. It's double-edged sword. I don't know.
It is, because you could just end up jumping in and you don't realize actually you've just jumped in with your feet encased in concrete.
Just jumped into a king cobra snake.
But it seemed like a good idea at the time when both feet left the ground. It's when they came back down.
Sounded super fun jumping in. I don't know.
It did. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. I have so many of those stories I can tell you as well. But yeah.
Is that you referenced your dad there? Is he somebody and other family members been influential in your career in having ability to be able to just jump from one place to another and not really worry about what you might be jumping into, and also to stack those questions again? Who else outside of family? Who else?
Yeah, so my dad was definitely a huge part. My mom, they're very old school, raised us very old school. So I say we were raised poor, but poor on purpose. They weren't lazy people who were in and out of jail or anything crazy like that. It was just they wanted old school fundamentals of the mom stays home with the kids, the dad only works, have a big family, Catholic, private school, all of these things. Yeah. And today it's very, very hard to do that. And they've made it increasingly harder. But and so, even at that time, even in the 80s, I'm the oldest of four. But it was he busted his ass to do whatever he could so my mom could be there with us, give us the right guidance, and showed us hard work, but also allowed us, I think, the benefit to would never want it done any different, even though it was hard. I mean, clothes from the thrift store, food stamps, anything you think of, not getting report cards because we didn't pay. It could be anything. So like a lot of things, but seeing that and having to fight through that, and seeing them fight through that and him fight through that, is that really let me, I guess, gave me the belief to think, hey, like, I've seen the worst of the worst, and you don't die. Like, it's hard. It's really hard, but you're not gonna die. And so I think because of that, it's like, okay, I think the only thing I ever think is if I could die doing it, maybe I'm gonna hesitate. But if I know there's no way I'm dying from it, I'm gonna take the risk. Right. And I think that really helped. So
that's awesome. And what about outside of the family?
Outside of it, honestly, probably. Again, I have the Tony Robbins book. You can see there the Robert Kiyosaki here. I mean, I have all these homages to these people. Really, it's the after schooling I like to say it's twofold. So my parents and my dad doing what he did, to really just bust his ass to make it available to us to see this other world. It was like I got the peek behind the curtain, because I went to school with, I hate to say it this way, but a lot of rich kids. I mean, they're cars were no problem, money was no problem. They're doing all of these things, having all of these vacations. I mean, our vacation, if we got lucky, was driving up to Niagara Falls, and that was that was maybe a weekend, but again, so we, it was very limited to what we can do, but I got to see that there was another world. And I think that's the biggest thing that I really, I guess my vision of the future is allowing, there's different levels of life, of this life, whether it's education, financial, I think they coincide, but there's people that are at the lower levels that don't want to be there, and I think it's opening up those windows to allow more people to see that there's that opportunity, and helping those is kind of my goal. But as far as future mentors, Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, Tom Bilyeu, right now huge Jay Shetty, really just the more self-awareness, and didn't realize how deep that was in me. Maybe it's native. I ended up doing that Ancestry 23andMe. I found out like I have more Native American in me than I do Mexican, which I had no clue.
Really?
But yeah, so yeah, pretty crazy.
And in finding that out, does some of what you've been up to in the past now make sense? Do you think
it does?
Yeah,
it actually does. I mean, even from the tattoo, I have this is a hawk, just because the Native American total meaning of hawk was the only reason I got, way before I even knew anything that I had Native American or anything. Right. I assumed, because of being Mexican, obviously Native American, this I'll share that after. I don't know that I could share that.
Okay, fair play.
There was a gentleman who shared me the difference between the two, and it was pretty funny. So
right. Also, so you've referenced a bunch of different authors there.
Yes.
So it sounds like you're reading a lot of the time. You like these
literally the last 12 years of my life, I did not realize what I was doing until now, kind of putting it all together with Dan and doing the show, and just this knowledge that I know. But the past 12 years was just this quest of knowledge, man. I've been soaking up knowledge like a sponge. 10 of 10, well, shoot, 10 of those years, probably about 10 of those years, it was mobile university behind it. I was doing in-home sales. So I was in a car just running appointments, not listening to anybody, wasting time. It was literally either listening to Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Bob Proctor, you name it. I was listening to it, just soaking it up. Zig was the first one. And really, I'll tell you this story actually, of what kind of all happened. So I was working for again, I call him my evil mentor. One of many that came in my life, but my evil mentor was this guy. Shoot, I'll blast his name on here. I can't stand this guy that much. Jim Quigley was his name, actually. He looked like Slugworth from Willy Wonka. And so literally working for this, I was the first official salesperson for this small, again, they claimed family owned. And a lot of these small businesses, hey, shout out to the small businesses. If you're not really family owned, or you don't have family values, don't call yourself a family owned business. But anyway, so they're big family owned, and I was first official salesperson. I ended up killing it. I was closing. So they proof of concept. They was a husband and wife. I won't give the name or anything, but husband and wife and the son. They were selling this custom patio cover. They super cool idea. Sold me the deal. Again, me sounded amazing. I'm like, yes, I'm in. Have no clue about the backstory. Again, I could tell you the whole backstory off. I don't want to kind of throw them under the bus, but anyways, total different backstory. I'm all in. Love the product, family owned, son's working, created the company for the son and wife to take it over. Husband is a lot older. I'm like, okay, I get it. Yeah, let's do it. I'll help you. They sold 30% of the appointments that they ran the previous year. They tried using their inside sales team to run the appointments. Inside sales and in-home sales, two different monsters. So it didn't work. So they then were hiring an outside salesperson, me, in-home sales. Hired me. I closed 90% of the appointments I ran. They're like, holy cow. Okay. Do you have any friends who can sell like you? I'm like, yeah. So I started to go through my Rolodex of people I worked with, and I'm like, kind of shady. No, he'll probably screw me. No. So I brought in my friend. I'm like, he had no sales experience. I lied. I'm like, oh, he's got a ton. I just knew I could train him because again, sales is not really what I've learned from all of these tricks, tips. Oh, you just do this, or you say that, or, even the old school, outdated BS in-home sales techniques that they use of just this, you're going to either beat somebody into submission or you're fooling them like they used to back in the day. It doesn't work. It's dead. Just taught him what I was doing. Actually, he even took it to the more basic level of, he was just relationship selling. He was so not book smart, not anything, that he was just sitting down with these people, talking to them, getting common ground, and then going out. That's all he was doing. And I was like, holy shit, that works. Well, keep doing what you're doing. But so, I mean, by our first full month together, I think we did like $400,000 or $500,000 in sales. They were like, holy cow. Okay. So then they bring in, here comes Mr. Jim Quigley. We're going to franchise this and blow this up everywhere. He works some crazy off the book deal with them because he has issues with taxes or something, and finds this guy in Michigan. He starts doing the shady stuff. They get a bad name, and I'm like, okay, I can't work with this guy anymore. I got to get out. So that's when I tried to do my own thing with it. But what happened, and what was the Audible and my introduction to Audible and really YouTube, and this quest of knowledge, I approached the owners, had a family situation. I said, hey, I have to take off this weekend. My friend is here. We're doing good. Like, I'll be back, but I have to get my kids. Is that okay? He looks at me dead straight faced. Now this is, mind you, after his son quit 2 weeks into gym, getting involved in the company.
Right.
Great. And he looks dead in the face, says, well, yeah, that's fine. We'll see if you have a job when you get back. And I was like,
what?
Huh? And so, I mean, I'm killing it. I'm doing all of these things. I'm blowing it. I'm not even going to get into the details, but I even changed the comp structure because the way they wanted to pay me was way more than I agreed for them to pay me on the first deal. So even after all that, they said that to me, and I'm like, okay. So I turn around. I didn't say anything because I at least learned not to say, because I would have had a lot of stuff to say younger. Mm-hmm. But so I turned around and just walked back, but I can tell my face was like, holy shit. And so Jim was there, and Jim leans over and he says, and I'll never forget it, he says, did you ever read the book Art of War? And I'm like, no. It's like, you probably should read it if you want to stay in this industry. And I'm like, oh. So I went right onto my car. I downloaded Audible because I suck at reading, or I'm really slow at reading. And so downloaded it so I can listen to it while I was driving. Got into the first like 2 chapters, figured out what was going on. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then that was it. So then I was like, okay, I need to learn. And then it was just YouTube. So Zig Ziglar, this, that, and yeah, just this endless quest of knowledge.
And you've just vacuumed up everything you possibly can.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then you meet Dan Deegan.
Then I meet my sales Yoda. That's what I like to call him.
Sales Yoda. Yeah. I've said, not to go too far off topic, I've said to Dan a couple of times, like, and in some of the ventures that he's starting up, if it doesn't work for him, it ain't gonna work for anybody.
Yes.
So like I have nothing but 100% faith in what that guy touches does
Yep.
turn to platinum. So I think
agree.
you've definitely aligned yourself there with somebody who well, can take you on a journey, can definitely educate, can definitely mentor, and do these things in the right way, in a structured way, not in a critical way. I mean, I've worked for
Yes, sir.
some managers in the past where it excuse me, it cracking the whip, being critical is not going to get what you want out of a good employee.
Yep.
And someone like Dan is more akin to putting the arm around the shoulder and saying, well, look, okay, so that didn't work, but that's fine because you've just learned something from that experience.
Yep.
And that's what I like about the wins and lessons that we get together with.
Yes,
on Friday,
that's exactly why we do it.
And there's been many times where I'm like, well, I suppose a win for me is like what, more business, or a loss is maybe I didn't get that deal. And you talk about that, and Dad's like, well, so what did you learn from that? Like,
yes,
I don't know.
Just has you digging deeper.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then always going to the next. Well, how are you going to apply it? Oh shit. Okay.
Exactly.
And that was kind of what and that was the great awakening really for me. Was I was so much soaking up all of this knowledge that it was just like, ooh, that sounds good, and I'd maybe apply it, but then I was like, but that really is good too. And so I really wasn't giving it a chance to find out what worked for me. I have so much useless ideas and knowledge and things that I know of that I never used, but it was just like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. But really then applying and really starting to stick to, BTSU. That's a Grant Cardone thing. Beat the sun up. I mean, that literally changes my day. That will dictate my day. I don't know for anybody else, but for me, if I don't do that and I don't get my morning thing in, it's like a chaotic day to start. So I need that and didn't really realize that until like, hey, okay, quit hopping all over the board. Let's just figure out what works for you now. You know enough. And that's really what it was with Dan. Just helped me kind of like more, the book, the Zig Ziglar book. I have homages to everybody around, but I just nothing I know is really from me. It's just the experience of me trying it and learning it from these amazing people who have all this knowledge. So just soaking up that knowledge.
I think that's pretty key, pretty critical to just pay attention to what it is you're doing at that point in time, and it might sound a little bit cliche, and it might even sound a little bit like, of course, no shit, Sherlock, but like paying attention and learning from those experiences. And the reason why I say that is because there are many individuals that I know and that I grew up with where it's just like a fog. Like, they'll just get up at the same time, go to the office, punch the same pieces of paper, clock out, go home, sit in front of the TV, watch the same show, eat the same food, go to bed.
I realized I can't live that way. Right. I can't do that. That's the biggest thing I realized. I think it had a lot to do. I mean, they do say, and I forget who I was just listening to, but it was Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil. Oh my goodness. If you have not read that book, you need to read that book. Everybody listening, if you have not read that book, it was written in like 1920 or something. I don't know, a long time ago. But it is so relevant to today. It will probably scare the shit out of you. But it is crazy. But that book, he said something in there. I mean, it really connected the dots to everything, was that book. But that book, I'm telling you, that book.
So you listen, over the years, and you've read tons. So you've referenced the Tony Robbins, very mainstream. Is there any books that you've read that kind of contradict each other in the way that you're supposed to behave or the way that results might be? And how have you reconciled that in your mind? How do you get over that?
So I love that you asked that. That's a great question too. So I will tell you, that's been the most recent journey. So self-awareness has been a huge thing that I didn't realize. Like, I guess I would say maybe the some people might call it depression that I was with the COVID and all of that. I don't know, but this journey that I was on of being by myself a lot and like kind of questioning everything. In the Outwitting the Devil, he says you really don't search for that wisdom until the age of 40. Being 42 now, but just turning 40 during all of this, I think maybe it was the collide of all of that. But this self-awareness and really just knowing me and my voice. So Giant, there's this company, I don't know if I shared, but there's voices. And so knowing who you are was kind of the biggest thing. And so like this journey of sales, Grant Cardone does a great approach to how he sells, but he's the in your face, he's the aggressive guy. I thought that's who I could be, or that's who I was. I'm neither of those. I'm the quiet guy that is just going to be nice, and we're either going to relate, and you're going to trust what I have, and we're going to make, I'm going to fix your problem, or it's just not going to work. But I'm not going to beat you down. And so I think Grant Cardone's way is very in your face, and it works. His saying is you either love him or you hate him, but you know who he is. And that idea of sales and really getting through works for some people. That's not me. And so that's where more I went to, okay, I'm not that. So it's the Jay Shetty, it's the Tom Billier, it's the Tony Robbins, it's the more, I'm going to help motivate you. And maybe we can all come together. This is the skill that I have of connecting and just bringing people together. You have these amazing ideas. Let's work together. And that's where, I realized that's more me. And that's where, it's just understanding who you are. And that's, again, so Giant has this, it's free assessment, but amazing. So that it's basically, there's 5 different voices. There's the connector, there is the nurturer, there's the creative, there's the guardian, and there's the pioneer. And they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. But and I had to do it. Once I learned about it, I'm like, okay, this was like the finishing piece. Like I've been on this self-awareness journey. I already kind of know who I am, but now this helped me like really tie it all together. And so I'm a connector, creative, nurturer, which I just reading the stuff before I even took the full assessment, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to be. I almost knew what I was going to be. But what's crazy is when you learn that and you can be so confident in who you are and know who you are, then you can kind of start to peg other people. And it's not that you're like, again, there's the pluses and minuses to everybody, and to have a good team, you have to have each one. And so your foundational voice, and then the way the voices kind of line up, really dictates how you are as well. So there's different combinations in everybody, but knowing that really just allows you to lead whoever you're leading. If you know what I'm saying.
That the whole self-awareness thing. That's probably something that I never really paid attention to until maybe 4-5 years ago, maybe shortly after, shortly before that. So paying attention to that, paying attention to what makes you angry, what makes you happy, what motivates you to get out of bed in the morning, like, how do you feel about helping others, how do you, getting confidence to believe in yourself. When I started GreenshootsFX with a buddy of mine, for the 7 months I think it was that we were building, every day I just talk about getting out of bed before sun up. I never went to bed. Saturday, Sundays, it was just exciting right the way up until when was it, September 30th 2020, and that was the eve of the launch. And I kid you not, like each night I was probably like 2-3 o'clock in the morning getting my head down, 6 o'clock, back at the desk right here, working away.
Yeah.
And then the day that we launched, I couldn't get out of bed. I felt like an imposter. I felt sick. I felt like I was invading, like, that imposter syndrome that people had talked about, or you'd heard in the periphery.
Oh yeah, I had that starting.
Pay attention to it.
I had that starting sales chatter. Dan was like, "It's just imposter syndrome. You know what you're saying." I'm like, "Dude, I feel like I should not be the one up here." so yeah.
It's and on that, with you and Dan listening to a couple of the shows, I try and at least dial into a couple during the week if I can.
Yeah.
Like, and if I don't, then I'll like pick and choose some of the ones that I can watch, because you guys do a great job like putting it out after the fact, right?
Yeah, we have
it's everywhere. Like it doesn't matter. I turn on my TV in the man cave over here, and you and Dan are just popping up. Like, you guys are everywhere. It's awesome. Yes. So, but it seems like you guys are very, like, you're natural at this. And and I think you two fit so well together. And the guys that you have on the show, the people that you have on the show, should I say, are like super interesting, super fun. And what I've learned over the course of the last 2 years, I guess, probably more so over the last 6 months, year, about the supply chain world, about the logistics world, is that it is a club. And I came from a club. I was what's called a correspondent banker for 20 years. So there's not many of us that are out there. Yeah. And it's usually big banks, and you all know each other, and you'll compete with each other, your frenemies, and all that kind of stuff. Look out for each other. And everybody knows everybody. Like, you can go to like pick a random conference, go to it, you're going to know 100 people there, kind of thing. And I really like that about like this supply chain environment that I've kind of buried myself in, and never really paid attention to anything outside of the financial side of supply chain. So interestingly enough, not to make this about me, but I will, because I'm an only child, but like, whenever I speak to anyone in logistics or supply chain, and if I said to them, what do you think about money movement, part of the supply chain or not? 9 times out of 10, they're like, how can you be part of the supply chain, you idiot? I'm like, well, it's good that you're moving stuff from A to B, but if money doesn't move from B to A, stuff ain't going to move from A to B. So we're all kind of part of it. Exactly. And I've never paid attention. When in 20 years in banking, when we talk about supply chain, we've only been talking about the financial side of it, not really paying attention to, stuff can get held up at a dockside, and ships can sink, and tires do burst, and engines do blow. So now all of that it's been a really interesting like journey for me over the last, like I say, 2 years, but really paying attention to it like over the last 12 months, and it's been super exciting. So I like being a bit more self-aware of what's going on around me.
Yes, sir. No, I agree, man. I kind of got into it again. I got into logistics when the ELDs first started coming out. So I mean, prior to that, I didn't know what a dry van was. I didn't know what a reefer was. I didn't know anything. And so it's been an amazing crash course journey. But again, it's like I think I shared it on actually I was on another podcast, but it really is just a market, just like the money market, like you're familiar with, just like the housing market, just like any other market. I mean, you have to pay attention and all of those little things, but it sounds like magic to everybody who's not involved, but you just look around your room, and every single thing that is in your room probably was on multiple trucks, boats, air, this, that, who knows, from the pieces that are inside it to the actual finished product, to even the containers that it's in, and that's, I mean, you don't really realize how much shipping and logistics are actually going on until you're involved in the industry, and then it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I could give you an example of one customer, my main customer up in Michigan, visiting their plant for the first time. They're showing me around. I'm like, hold on, and this is their shipping manager, not thinking of their other shipping stuff. But I'm like, those big giant super sacks, what's in those? And he's like, oh yeah, that's oh, you could probably help us with that too. I'm like, yeah, I can. But and then, oh, those metal tins, where are those coming from? Because we don't. And again, but there's so many pieces and parts that even those that are involved in it are, he's just shipping out the finished product. So he was never even thinking of how we can help with those pieces as well. But
that's an interesting comment. And I say this not to pick on Dan, but like, so we've gotten to know each other over the last 18 months. I think I know what he does. I think he knows what I do, or what we do, should I say? But on one of our podcasts, one of your shows a couple of months ago, and he's talking about building the business and like, and so we got a technology company in India. So, we're paying these guys like, a lot of money. And it was after the show, I'm like, so you're paying funds internationally then, Dan? He's like, yeah. I'm like, kind of what we do, mate. Like, shit, yeah, you're right, you do. So I'm like, we could probably save you a few bucks, mate. So it's like, but you don't until you get a real live example.
But you get a process. Yeah, you get a process, you get a routine. And as long as there isn't, again, just like the supply chain of what we have right now. I mean, this has always been what it is and what's going on. But until there's actual issues or disruptions, then everybody wants to be like, oh, well, what's going on? Instead of just constantly doing checkups on what is this right? Is this working? Okay, everything else is smooth. Let's not sit back with our feet up. Let's make sure and constantly fine tune and do better. And that's where I think, we get in either this lull of, okay, everything's good, let's just let it go, instead of, okay, everything's good, now let's focus on the things that we can maybe make better to make this better. And I don't think enough people really do that.
Well, I think that, so this comes back to your daily show, right? All about high performance. So what makes you a high performer? Are you like the person or the group that I just described, which is get up at the same time, go to work, like blind, like you don't remember
Netflix shows you're binging now, or
exactly right. You've paid no attention to what's happened during the day. It's just whizzed by, you punch out and then you go home, rather than sitting there thinking, right, okay, I've just punched a bunch of widgets. Like, how can I punch more of those widgets? Or how can we punch punch that volume faster? Or how can we punch like 4 different types of widget at exactly the same time? Like, so it's those individuals that then creatively looking at processes and thinking, how can I do it better?
Yes,
but I get sucked into though, and I've been a victim of this like so many times, even when I worked in banking, that taking 10 minutes out to use the bathroom was, I'm 10 minutes behind.
Yes.
And what you don't realize is actually, if you went and took an hour out and went to the gym, you would be 5 times more productive in the afternoon, because but it's the math doesn't.
I'm so glad you shared that, because that was probably one of the last things. And again, when you're anybody who is on this journey of self-awareness, reach out. I'd love to help. But it literally is, you have to. So I'm one of those weirdos that believe our mind is way more powerful than we give it credit. Dr. Bruce Lipton's all about that as well. And so I love a lot of his stuff. And I truly believe like we are a frequency, and we're either a frequency, our cells. I mean, this is science, nothing more than science, but the energy from our cells, we have positive and negatives in us. I mean, the biggest positive and negatives we have, I think, positive your heart, negatives your head. But and so that's the battery keeping us going, with the cells keeping us going. But we are actually radiating to where, again, this is just science and no witchcraft, but they used to put those things on your head to check brain activity. Now they can actually check it from here. How can they check what's going on from here and nothing's connected to your head? Clearly, we are radiating something.
Right.
But and that's where I think we're either radiating positive or we're radiating negative. And that's where you're either feeding the good wolf and you're radiating that, or you're feeding the bad wolf and you're radiating that. But whatever we are feeding out there is what we're getting back.
Right.
And that's who we attract. And that's where those opposites attract. That's where those things, that's where if you're just, you feel like the universe is just, everything's falling like I do. Everything's falling into my lap now. I think the biggest thing is, and I heard this on the show, but when miracles aren't occurring is when you should wonder what is wrong. If everything is happening right, don't wonder what's going on. Just keep doing and being positive and doing what you're doing. But when things aren't happening, now it's time to stop and say, okay, why? What is going on? What am I doing different that is sending this out that I am getting something bad back in return? And I think if we just focus more on that, you'd be surprised. Be surprised what happens. But.
Well, listen, I like to feed off of positive energy of other people. I think if I'm around negative individuals, I think actually depends on my own frame of mind, right? Either one of two things is going to happen, right? Maybe obviously, right? Either I'm going to just get sucked into that void and I'm going to become I'm going to get into a funk myself, or I'm going to be like, right, this person needs lifting up. Like, so what do we do? How can we do it? And it may not necessarily be offering a solution. It might just be a simple putting an arm around somebody, right? And I'm going to flip it.
But just be talking to them for a couple minutes, asking them how their day is, asking them what's going on. You might not have to do anything more than just give them attention. But I agree with what you're saying. And I think if we thought of it like this, and that's where my networking, and that's where, again, I think the stars all kind of aligned for me, was I understood your network is your net worth. I believe that to my core now. Your core 5 people, like Dan says, even less, I think 2 or 3 people, your core 2 or 3 people that you're regularly associating with is going to either give you that feeling you said you had when you were waking up ready to go, or that I don't want to get up. This sucks. I don't know what I'm going to have to face today. And if we're not honest with that, and honest with how we feel about that, and searching for those people constantly that are going to help us do that, that's where we get stuck. I think that's where most people get stuck. I was stuck. I mean, I was super stuck. And it wasn't until, and Maggie could tell you, but it was, I want to say it was probably 2 to 3 weeks, if that, before Dan reached out to me about doing the podcast, that I was like, okay, I need to go back to BNI. They're opening again face to face, and I need to go back there because I need to network again. And it was when I did that everything then just started to fall into place.
Did you get much out of BNI?
I do. I do. So again, local wise, BNI is a way more beneficial if you're a local business. So if you're a home improvement service or a real estate, financial investor, those kind of things do really well. Anything looking for more bigger international business, kind of like you or me, or just nationwide, where you're looking for these big companies, not so good there. I tried it with the trucking when I was doing the brokerage. I didn't get anything from that. Worked a lot better with the resale thing. Obviously was getting a lot more business, but that was just them coming, and buying stuff from us instead of Amazon. So.
And why not? All right. So
right. Yeah, you're gonna save 50%. Why not? Right.
So like, dude, I feel like we could crack on for another couple of hours.
Oh, dude, I could too. Yeah.
We haven't even touched on like your orangery. I remember like you were trying to buy that. We talked about the flea market last week. I don't know if I'm telling tales out of school here. So like,
flea market's the future. Flow marketplace. If you're a financial advisor, you like to teach about money, you like to teach about business, or teach about just management, reach out to me because I'll need some help. But
Love it. Love it. Now, so before we wrap up,
Yes,
where can
sir.
people find you? So let's talk very quickly about your sales chatter.
So Sales Chatter Live obviously is how and so thankful to Dan for doing that with me, but I would have never had the courage to do it myself. So props to you for doing this by yourself, Mark, because I had to host the show by myself today for the first time. Thankfully, I had Jeff on to co-host with me, and Dean, of course, because it's Wednesdays. So It wasn't too difficult, but I would have never done this myself. So shout out to Dan for making this possible. But yeah, Sales Chatter Live is basically we created it, and we started last year. We did 2 days a week. Found that we got an audience pretty quick. It was something that's needed, I think, especially for the supply chain industry. So we went then to 3 days a week, and then beginning of this year, we were like, okay, we're just going all in. We got to figure out how to squeeze this in, and it's been tough for both of us because we do have one sponsor, but not enough. So sponsors, reach out. But so making it all work and really getting out there is tough. But so yeah, we decided, okay, we're going 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We did the specific time because, again, both of our industry, very similar to you and very similar to everybody today, especially the BDRs and this SDRs and all those guys working behind a computer screen with nobody to talk to or relate to or to know the pains that you're going through trying to break through these walls of helping fix other people's problems instead of selling them or convincing them something they don't need. So we created just to help motivate. So that's why Mondays we try to do a strategy from his training program. And his training program, even though he calls it logistics, it's a full all-in-one kind of, from personal development to self-awareness to just figuring out some strategies of what to do to get your day starting right. It's more than just a regular training program. I've been through it twice, just because it's so good. We figure Mondays we start with the strategy of that. Tuesdays we bring in a customer to try to really just let them get a pulse of what's really going on out there besides just what we're getting through our sources. Wednesdays, obviously, Dean Triple D Day. Try to break down the data and give everybody Dean is the knowledge that man has.
Jesus,
it's amazing.
It's
amazing. But so Dean is crazy. It's insane. And then Thursdays we do personal development. So again, just that's been a huge thing for me and Dan. When he took his little hiatus from the logistics world and went more into speaking and that, it was more this quest of personal development for him, and that was me as well. So we really connect there and love talking about that. And then obviously Fridays we end with you, man. Just a fun, let's make it fun, wins and lessons, light, and let's just have everybody again so we can wake up. And here's what I'll tell everybody, and I try to say it on the show. If you don't have that feeling like you mentioned, going back to that again, Mark, if you're not waking up ready, you're dreading Monday, be honest with yourself. Fine. What is your passion? What do you like to do? Don't waste any more of your life doing what you don't like to do. Dan mentioned that on the show with the guy he had that talk with, and then he ended up, he was gone and he went to be a cop. I think we need more of that. Be aware of what you actually are enjoying doing, not what's paying your bills, or bringing in money. You can find your passion, find a way to monetize it. You can do that, and then do that.
Yeah. That's tough. I mean, it's
very tough.
I think I'm going to say it's tough maybe for younger individuals. It could be tough now. As I say that, it could be tough for older individuals because now you're setting that
you're
way.
Already, you're stuck in a niche.
But then at the same time, I feel like if the older you are, maybe the more experience you have and the more you think, I don't give a shit. So know what? I am.
Younger, you have to test it out. You don't really know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have never known that I was ending up this route that I'm on.
Yeah.
You know, back when
Dude, you had we have not jumped out of corporate America, big bank, you know, that's been my career up until 2 years ago. It was 28 years, 29 years, 7 global banks, 2 continents, like constantly working for the man, like, you know, and when I look back on that now, I feel like you probably knew the signs, you probably saw the signs, but you just buried your head in the sand and you became addicted to the paycheck and the annual bonuses, right? And now when I look back on that, I think, oh, crap, man, I should be doing what I'm doing today. Should have been doing that 10 years ago, but I wasn't, and so I can't beat myself up on it, right?
But again, good book for that. Neutral thinking. It takes what it takes. Great book for that. But
Dan the Librarian. Right. Yeah. So here's a couple of things. Number one, if anybody out there is struggling, to your point, if you are struggling to get up in the Monday morning, I've posted this a few times on LinkedIn. Ping me a message, like get in touch, like, and we'll and I think we can add you to that list. Like, we'll get you, we'll get you out of bed. It's not easy. No one says it's going to be, and it's okay to admit the fact that you don't like what you're doing, or that you're in a crappy job, or that
let's spend 30 minutes. Let's talk about it. Maybe you're just not doing the right thing.
Exactly. Just because you can't see an end doesn't mean to say that like it's completely blocked off. Yeah. So, and I think it might take 1, 2, 4, 5, 10 individuals, a dozen conversations, maybe one conversation for you to figure out that it's actually okay to change lanes, or it's okay to take 5 steps back and be patient. And, whether that's read self-help books, go back, go to college, do a night school, whatever it might be, and there's always barriers, no matter whether you're successfully moving forward, there's still going to be a barrier that you're going to have to overcome. So but the important thing is, I feel, is don't think that you're alone. And don't think that there's people out there that you can't talk to, because there's always somebody. Even if you are, I have no friends, I have no family, there's DJ, there's me, there's tons of individuals that are more than willing.
Find me on LinkedIn, anywhere. Sales Chatter Live, YouTube.
And that's where I was coming to after the Sales Chatter. So where can people find you? Where are you at?
Yeah. So obviously you can check us out. We have a Sales Chatter Live on LinkedIn. We do stream to our personal pages right now. So Dan Deegan or DJ Flores on LinkedIn. We do also stream. I created a Facebook group when I got into logistics. So we stream it there at Freight 101. Just to try to help that community, and then on our YouTube channel, Dan Deegan YouTube channel, or Sales Chatter Live.
Dude, you're a good man. It's been an absolute pleasure. We didn't even get to talk about Maggie and the kids.
Oh, that's okay. We'll talk. So, I have grandkids. I have grandkids and everything.
I look at your life and I think, well, if he can do it, then I know I can.
That's right. Yes, everybody can. I'm telling you. Yes, anybody can, and that's what I've told myself. That's, if they can do it, I can too. And
brilliant. Well, listen, man, it's been great catching up. Sincerely appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you on Friday.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Thank you.